We have these MIAC reports that we broke, and then the federal reports saying those buying guns are the number one threat to the government and ammo. Reports that the veterans are the number one threat. So they built up this anti-terror apparatus, as I've been predicting for years. They then swung it around overnight and pointed it at the tax protesters, gun owners. I mean, this is turning into hardcore tyranny. So can you elaborate on what you were just talking about with them calling us pessimism porn and then leading into we're terrorists and need the new domestic CIA to watch us?
Well, the New York Times did an op-ed piece on March 26th. They called what I'm putting out pessimism porn. And even though, of course, they cite all the accuracies that we have produced over the nearly 30 years of business, so they came out with this line. We're calling what they're putting out optimism opium. You won't die from porn, but boy, you'll die from this optimism opium, because the ship is going down and they've drugged the people. And you pointed it out with this left-wing movement and these liberals. They're drugging the people into believing the lines. It's optimism opium. They keep selling it. And at the same level, by the way, they're always pushing out, the economists say this and the economists say that. But we need to be confident and we need to be optimistic. Wait a minute. If you're going to stick with economics and use mathematical formulas and call it a science, even though it's a pseudoscience, then what does optimism and confidence have with this? This isn't about pessimism. The ship has hit an iceberg. It's sinking. And you better grab a lifeboat, a life jacket, or a life raft, because there's not even going to be debris to hang on to. This thing's going down quickly. And they're coaxing the people into thinking that this is going to be saved by a song and dance man out there that's going to bring the country into a new age. It's not happening.
Well, Gerald, it's worse than that. I mean, it's even worse from my research and what you're saying. They're taking the lifeboats and have left and have got bullhorns telling us to not grab pieces of, the deck to try to float on. And they're telling us we're not even on a ship and we're not even on the North Atlantic. And then meanwhile, they're now saying people that don't like the banks are terrorists. And we found out when we were protesting the Fed that's in the Obama deception, we got the secret document. Now it's mainstream news. The Army was watching us, and the Army document that got leaked to us, and then we put it out, and now the news confirmed it, says, look out, military. Don't let them know you're military spying on them. They're terrorists and may kill you. I mean, this is entering cuckoo land level.
Well, it's not entering cuckoo land. What it's entering is fascism. And that's what this is, the merger of corporate and state powers, according to Mussolini, who knew a thing or two about fascism. That's what he called it. And that's what's going on now. And this is just now it's the economic fascism. Secondly is going to be the political fascism. America's turning into a fascist state. And I'm not a right-winger. I'm not a left-winger. I'm a political atheist. I call a spade a spade. I have no trouble with that. And when you look again at the definition by Mussolini, the merger of corporate and state powers is called fascism. So what you're talking about with the intelligence and the wiretapping and calling us extremists, that's the next level. That's to put down the revolt and the revulsion of what's going on.
But we're obviously on the right saying we shouldn't have offshore banks hijacking the government bipartisanly and stealing $12.8 trillion, the GDP, in 6 months, and that's in late April 2009. God knows what it'll be soon. They're saying it's online to be $26 trillion by the end of the year. That'll be double the GDP. I mean, this is just open crime. And I guess then, Gerald, you're saying they're going for broke, and because now they're announcing, White House official says we'll bail out the newspapers and TV, but then the government will own it and tell them what to say. That's LA Times. And then we have them firing the head of GM and telling them what to do, and telling the head of Dodge, you will let Fiat, the Bilderberg Group owned thing, take you over. I mean, it really is fascism.
Again, Americans are drugged. We're the most medicated country in the world, and now we're drugged on this optimism opium that we have the showman in chief singing and dancing it out there putting on all these stage shows. So they're drugged. The people are drugged in more ways than one. And now, you go out, you see people, they're twittering, they're text messaging, they're out of their minds. They're not watching what's going on. And when you have that kind of situation, Alex, you could push everything over on them.
It's a spell.
And that's what's going on right now.
It's a spell. It's like they've been hypnotized.
Right. Again, it's optimism opium. They sell it every day. Can't you say can't you say something positive? That's what how many times I hear that? I mean, look at the last words of the guy who did the Good Morning America interview with me. He said something like, "Oh, you're not a happy guy," or something like that. I mean, some silly thing. He was a nice enough guy. And by the way, I have to tell you, Fox has been very good with me, and I've gotten to know a number of the people on the Fox Happy Hour. And I can't say enough good things about them. And they're not, the people that I talk to on the set, and I've been on that show quite a bit, I have to tell you, they're not taking stands. They're not Republican or Democrat, right or left. They're fed up with this stuff.
Well, let me tell you, I've talked over the years to a lot of Fox producers, and they're listeners of the show. They know about the New World Order. They can't stand what they're doing. And also Murdoch is smart. He will brand whatever country he's in. He'll go with what the prevailing attitude is. And so right now he knows, just like you've said, this is the trend, patriotism, liberty, getting back to 1776 instead of to 1984 culture. They know that this is the rising tide. And so, yes, they want to be popular. Now the MSNBCs and others, they're trying to go along with the optimism opium that you were trying to talk about right there. Now, Gerald, what do you see on the front of trying to restrict free speech? Because they're now announcing, Senator Jay Rockefeller has said, hey, we'd be better off without an internet. We need to have a new internet, too, where you don't have any of these freedoms, where we control what you can do, where sites are restricted. All over the West, from Australia to Canada, they're announcing Chinese-style net censorship. That's a headline, but saying it's good. How do you see them going after the internet?
They're going to go after everything. They're going to try to take as many of our rights away as possible. And Obama's going to be able to do it even better than Bush because he has broad support. And they also may try a false flag incident that they're going to say we have to, because of this incident, we have to restrict your rights, just like they pushed through the Patriot Act. And, of course, we also know that Obama as well voted to reinstate the Patriot Act and is bringing it to new levels as well. So we see more and more restrictions, and there's going to be more and more of a clampdown, and net neutrality is going to be a huge issue.
Gerald Celente, going back to torture, the media tried to spin it, except for Agency French Press and a few others. The media tried to spin that he had rebuked torture. But when you read the orders and the statements, he says, we've got to protect our professionals that did the torture and followed orders. So what he really did in precedent was overthrow what was decided at Nuremberg, that just following orders doesn't cut it. He now says, no, you're going to be protected in government if you follow orders to commit brutal crimes, including torturing children with insects.
Yeah, I know. It's again, this is where the country is heading. And people better, as I said, they better wake up quickly. Not only are we going to lose our rights, but before you know it, you're going to lose all your money, too. Because they're also talking about this new reserve currency. We see with China, they're not dumping dollars. They're buying up assets. We still believe there's going to be the dollar's going to dive, hyperinflation, and we're still very bullish on gold. And it's very important now that people, again, take proactive measures in anticipation of what's to come. We're already seeing the breaks again now in the stock market. Today, the market's down well over 200 points. Banks are now again reporting weak earnings. It's just the beginning. There's no way out.
Well, Gerald, I want this in your perspective on this, but what I see is a massive contraction, layoffs, more than 600,000 every month now in the real economy. while they try to pump up their fiat economy. So there's a disconnect. They're like, well, that's doing better, but this is doing worse. Can you explain that to people? It's home gain. And that's spelled HOMEGAIN.com. HOMEGAIN.com. You can go there for free, find out how much your house is worth, how much it's listed for. They've been around for 10 years. I'd used this service before I even got them as a sponsor when we were moving a few years ago. And they have a home sale maximizer that tells you the least expensive repairs to do to your home or upgrades that'll give you the best resale value. Just an amazing site, HOMEGAIN.com, homegain.com. That's HOMEGAIN.com. Or click on the Infowars.com banner. It's Mac's Little Orange Gorilla.